Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, and it really is exciting to be here with this event today. And we're using new equipment. I want to say thank you very much for participating. In fact, hey, it's not quite the top of the hour, but let me share with you a quick tip, a quick idea that I've been talking to people about lately on social media, and particularly LinkedIn. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, hey, follow me on LinkedIn. But the discussion really goes around, are great salespeople great because of what they sell or why they sell? And I've been arguing it's why they sell, not even how they sell, but it's why they sell. If you don't have the passion and the commitment to sell, you're never going to be successful. But anyway, hey, it's the top of the hour. Let's get started. I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, and welcome to this another session. And believe me, what we're talking about here today is absolutely powerful regarding the telephone. Now, here's where we're going with this. First of all, I want to thank the sponsor, InfoFree. If you have not checked out InfoFree, I really suggest you jump out to infofree.com, because one of the things that they do is they provide you with leads. We use it in our own business. They provide you with an ability to really segment leads and really slice and dice leads to get very, very accurate information. Telephone numbers. Yeah, telephone numbers. Because you know what I find? The telephone really works. One of the arguments I'm hearing people say is, the telephone doesn't work. Well, I'm going to dispel that here today. But anyway, hey, some of the clients I've had a chance to work with, I've worked with hundreds of clients all over the world, all around prospecting, all around how to get really better prospects to really be able to close at a higher price. Now, this is about prospecting using the telephone. Let me share with you a quick thought about prospecting using the telephone. And this came in a discussion I had with a person just the other day. They said, hey, Mark, I'm calling. I'm not getting anybody. So I'm using just email. I said, how's that working out for you? He said, well, it's great. I can send out a lot of emails. I said, no, how's it working for you? And he said, it wasn't working for him. I said, see, that's why. See, you may think something else is easier, but I'll tell you what, the telephone is by far the easiest and best tool to use. Now, I really do believe it's the easiest and the best, and I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you why it really is that case. Because, well, let's cut to the chase. It really is about being able to have you be you, so others see you as you. Let me give you a quick example. I had a prospecting call to me. Not this was not me calling out, but this was to me, and came into my office Tuesday afternoon. And the prospecting call came in, and oh, hey, somebody's saying, hey, can we call a number because your computer does not have audio? Oh, I do not have audio. I apologize. We don't have that set up here. But you know what? I'm going to get you the replay. We'll get that taken care of. So stay connected, Jason. And I'll make sure in the replay you get an audio tool. Okay. But here's a situation that was really coming to me. And this was a prospecting call that came to me. And it was interesting because the voicemail that they left a voicemail. Wasn't all that engaging, but it had a really compelling call to action. Now, again, this call is not on voicemail. It's not on Gatekeeper. It's purely on a phone call. So I called the person back. And what's very interesting is very quickly, we got into a very comfortable discussion. Very comfortable. Now, why? Because they were letting their personality come through. And the more they let their personality come through, the more my personality came through. Now, did it ultimately create a sale? No. But the person on the other end did a couple of very good things. They really found out some very good information. And ultimately, we decided it really wasn't going to be a match, so that's okay. But the emphasis of this person could have sent me 20, 30, 40 emails and never, ever would have been successful. It was a phone call that made it successful. Now, let's talk about what are some of the specifics and what are the real arguments? Because the arguments I hear is, when is the right time to call? And here's the piece that I'll say. I've got to keep a rotation in how I'm calling. But here's what I will always default to first. Call when you're ready, not necessarily when you think the prospect is ready. Now, what do I mean by this? I hear people say, oh, well, I can't call on Monday mornings. I can't call on Tuesday mornings. I can't call Wednesday afternoons. I can't call through because nobody's available. Well, I'll argue this. If your best time to call is Monday mornings, you call Monday mornings. Because here's what I find. You will have a greater chance of breaking through when you're in the groove versus when the prospect's in the groove. Whoa, what did I just say? Yeah, I just said something. It's really about you being in the groove. Let's go back to this call that I had on Tuesday. You see, I wasn't in the groove for that call. I wasn't looking for that call. No, there was not at all what this person was trying to sell. But this person was in the groove in terms of how they communicated with me. You see, I'll argue this, that it's your frame of mind, not the customer's frame of mind, that's going to determine whether or not you're successful on prospecting. Now, let's come back to the clock, the calendar, and really the phone. Let me share with you one quick tip, one quick piece of advice. Make sure you are always writing down when you are reaching out to each prospect. One of the biggest issues we have in sales is we don't follow through. We make one call and we hang up. One call, hang up. Please, I can't stress that enough. You can't do that. Now, somebody else is calling in saying they're having a hard time hearing. Is there a phone number I can call to hear the audio to my computer, not having speakers? Yeah, I apologize. We will get this corrected for future events. How's that sound? That sound good? In fact, let me just check. Let me just make a double check here. And yeah, we're on. Yep, we are on. So anyway, yep. Anyway, good. Great. Thank you. All the people who are commenting, saying it's free. You know, I try not to pay attention to the comments over there, but it's kind of the beautiful thing about live because I see the comments popping up. So that's absolutely terrific. And we will save some time at the end for some questions. Okay. Now, let me share with you a really quick tip. And some of you may have heard this before from me, but I call it 58-2. If you're having a hard time reaching somebody, and this is especially particular in B2B, call them right at the top of the hour. Why top of the hour? Because here's what I found. Most people set their schedules based off meetings and so forth, based off top of the hour. And there's one time that they might be free. It's going to be top of the hour. It might be the top of the hour. So I'm going to say, jump in on that and make that the time that you reach out and you call people. Now, let's jump back to this whole thing on the calendar. Here's a couple pieces that I want you to keep in mind. One of the elements regarding prospecting and regarding calls that I say in terms of what's the right frequency. Here's a strategy that I really suggest you use with your prospecting phone calls. Depending on the frequency with which the person buys and the number of potential salespeople that they may talk to is going to determine the frequency and the repetition of the phone calls you make. Let me give you an example. If you're selling something, say you're selling industrial supplies. I know we have a lot of people on the call here that sell industrial supplies. You can call those people almost literally every day. You literally could call them every day. Now, I'm probably not going to suggest every day, but I'm going to suggest probably every other day, maybe every third day at the most. On the other hand, you might be calling something that is a long sales cycle, and it's dealing with somebody who doesn't normally talk on the phone. In other words, they don't deal with a lot of salespeople. They just don't. So I may only reach out to those people every week and a half. I never like going more than 2 weeks without reaching out to a prospect. Now, here's why. You go longer than 2 weeks and you have fallen off the face of the earth. They're not going to remember it. The strategy I talk about in my book, High Profit Prospecting, is really what I call 6 MPMs. What is that? That's 6 messages per month. Now, they're not all phone calls because I'm gonna sprinkle it in with some emails. But the whole thing is it's repetition. So don't sit there and build your prospecting calendar as a calendar. I say build it as a clock to increase the frequency, to increase the number of calls that you happen to be making. Now, here's the whole key. Don't start what you can't finish. What I want you to do is I want you to make your phone calls based on this premise that you're going to have to make at least 8 to 9 phone calls to each person. Now, I'm going to get into in just a bit what should the actual phone call consist of, but I want to set up the frequency first, okay? So hang with me if you're looking for what are the words? What do I need to say? I'll get to that in just a bit. Here's the whole piece. You want to set it up to where you can make 8 to 9 phone calls to that person over that X period of time. Now, again, if you're selling something that people buy frequently, I may call every other day. And if I not, it may be every week and a half. Now, here's something very interesting regarding the telephone. And this just came out in another phone call and email exchange I had with somebody on Monday of this week. They called me and they said they're having a real hard time. They sell service agreements. And the problem is they have to kick out existing people. Somebody's already got the service agreement. It was HVAC systems for big industrial buildings. And they said they got to kick somebody out in order for them to get in. Okay, I get that. I understand that. Now, here's what's interesting. I said, it's a service, right? Oh, yeah, it's a service. I said, what you need to do is you need to make your calls so pinpointed that they can literally set their calendar based off when you're going to call. Now, let me explain to this because this goes outside the box a little bit, but it's a great tip and a great strategy, and it works for the right person. Okay, for instance, you might be B2B and you're selling a service. Okay, now what's happening is the prospect you're calling is gauging the quality of the service you're going to provide based off the quality of your sales approach. If this is the case, if I call you, we'll say I call you 2, 3, 4 times and I don't get anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere. I may have had one phone conversation with you and I always say, hey, I'm going to call you back if I get some new information. That's always how I end every phone call that may not lead to a satisfactory outcome. Hey, if I get some new information, you mind if I call you back? And they may say, no, I don't care. I'm going to call them back anyway. Now, let me come back to this. I'm going to call them back and they're not interested. Oh, that's great. Hey, I'm going to call you again a week from Tuesday. And you actually say a week from Tuesday. A week from Tuesday, you call them. And you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to call you back a week from Tuesday. In fact, I'll call you back a week from Tuesday at 10 a.m. And you call them back a week from Tuesday at 10 a.m. You know what's interesting? You see what's doing? You're calling out the time that you're going to call them. And then you do it on that. What is that saying? That's telling this person that, whoa, wow. I can't believe how even the salesperson is consistent. Because what is one of the big challenges with service agreement and service companies is they fail to follow through. It is a great strategy. I've had people and I've worked with people who have said, you know what? I'm going to call you every morning at 8:30. 8:30. I'm going to call you every morning at 8:30. And they call them literally every morning at 8:30. And then about the fifth, this happened to be in a transportation company I was doing some work with. And finally about the seventh or eighth, they said, man, if your shipping process is anywhere near to the consistency that you are with your sales process, we got to do some business with you. And got business. Really became an absolutely easy approach. Now, back to where I started with this whole thing though. Don't start what you can't finish. Making one call to people, and I'm guilty of this. I've done this. I've made 1 or 2 calls and I give up. Don't. Keep going. Now, if you're wondering about voicemails and so forth, hey, I would suggest that you go ahead and go out to my YouTube channel, and I got some videos out there on voicemail very specifically. And I got a couple sessions on this, and you can really kind of do a deep dive on that. So I'm not going to jump into that. But anyway, hey, we got to get going on this. Okay. What are the objectives to the call? You don't make a phone call unless you have an objective. But here's one of the big challenges that I'll say. And this may sound a little counterintuitive. Don't over expect your objective. In other words, don't put your objective to be so high that you can't achieve it. What I do is when I'm making prospecting calls, I actually set it quite low. Now, here's why. This is not to psych me out. This actually to make me feel better. Because what I'm doing here is I'm trying to say, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if people don't pick up the phone and don't answer. I get that. It just allows me to go on to the next call. It's okay if I don't get some of the responses I get. It's okay. But I know I will get some. So I set my bar fairly low. Now, here's where I want you to go with this. What I want you to do is I want you to set these 3 pieces as your real critical objective. Okay? 1, get an appointment. Okay? Get an appointment. Now, what do I mean by an appointment? Well, unless you're in a very simplistic sale that you can do a 1-call close, chances are you're going to have to contact them again. Because 90% of the time, you probably didn't reach them when they were really ready to talk to you, when they were expecting. So what I say is get an appointment. Now, how do I get an appointment? Well, it's basically by getting, one key piece of information. And then learning is something you can follow up on. Now, here's the way this works. I'm going to contact you, and we'll say that I'm selling software. Great. I want to learn one key piece of information. What's some need? Now, you may not share with me much, and I'm not going to blame you if you don't. But it's just something that I can run with. And then something I can follow up on. Great. You know what? I've got some insights on that. I've got some information that I'll have fine, but let's set an appointment. Let's talk tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Now, here's the whole thing. I am not a fan of saying, when would it be good for us to talk next? I don't like that. My whole objective is to expediently put a follow-up time on the calendar. I'm going to say, hey, how does tomorrow at 10 a.m. look? How does tomorrow at 11 a.m.? Or say, how about if I call you tomorrow at 11? All I'm asking for is a yes or a no. Now, if they say no, well, great. When would be a time that might fit? Now, depending on your personality, you might say, not even say when might be a good time to call back. You may just go ahead and say, hey, well, how about 2 o'clock? How about 3 o'clock? Again, you make that fit to your personality because it's very key on the telephone that you allow your personality to come through. Now, let's unpack this a little bit more before I jump onto something else here. One key piece of information. You see, the whole thing that you're trying to do with this initial phone call is not share information, but get information. Write that down. My prospecting calls are about getting information, not sharing information. That's a very key critical piece. This is where I think a lot of telemarketing companies blow it. I freely admit this because all they do is get into this. No. And that's the type of telephone prospecting in my book that doesn't work. My objective is to get information, not to share information. Now, here's why. When I share information on the initial call, what is happening? The prospect is having the ability to make a decision that they don't need you. If my focus is on getting information, now I'm getting the privilege to say why I need to call you back again. You see what I've done here? You see, my objective, unless it's a very simplistic sale, my objective is I want to have a second call. I don't want to give you enough information on this first call that you can make a decision that you don't need me. Now, some people say, Mark, isn't that stringing the process out too long? And I say, no, it's not, because here's the whole thing. When you catch people off guard, they are naturally going to respond no. That's just normal human behavior. So what I want to do is I don't want to give you enough information to rule me out. I just want to give you enough information and get enough dialogue going to engage you. And again, that's a very critical piece about telephone sales. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that follow-up appointment and I'm going to expeditiously do it as rapidly as possible. Now, one key piece of information. The one key piece of information always comes out of the questions that you're going to ask. And we'll get to those in just a moment, okay? In terms of how to do the phone call. The something to follow up on is very simply, that's the information that you have as the expertise, that you have as the expert. And you know you could share. You could share that with them on the first call. But I'm arguing no, don't. Unless you feel you can take it all the way to the close. But I'll tell you what, 95% of all people I work with are not in a business like that. If you sell a very low-level contract, very low-level item, fine, you do that. But I'm not a fan of that for 95%. Now, that's the objective of your phone call. This is the objective I want you to measure. I want you to measure how many conversations did I have and how many follow-up appointments did I get. Now, your actual number is going to be low because you're going to make a tremendous number of phone calls. You're only going to reach a few people. And out of those, but you know what I found? Once I get a follow-up call in place, I am much more likely to have a closed sale. Now, here's why. Because when the customer commits to a follow-up time, they're now putting something into it. When they've shared with you some information, they've put something into it. You see, so what have I done? I've somewhat already moved you through the qualification process. Now, the traditional objectives or the traditional goals, okay? The number of calls, the number of conversations, the amount of time spent on the phone. Now, let me unpack these. Let me break these down, because this is a piece that I get into a lot of arguments with sales managers, senior executives of companies and so forth, because they want to say, hey, it's all about the number of calls. Oh, it's all about the number of calls. Just make $100, make $50. And I'll go, no, it's not. It's about the number of conversations. It's about the number of conversations. That is the most critical measurement for you to have. And I can't emphasize that one enough. Now, this total amount of time on the phone, I am not the least bit concerned. I really could care less how long or short individual phone calls are. And again, I get into arguments, and I have this with various companies where they sit there and they will argue with me that they want to keep phone calls short. And I go, no, I don't. The more engaging I can be, the more information I'm going to get if my focus is on asking questions. You see, this is what my focus is. So what I want to do is, what's the amount of time on the phone? Now, what do I mean by that measurement then is, it's not the length of individual calls. It's what percent of my day is spent on the phone. Is it 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? For instance, even myself and my business, my objective every day is to spend 90 minutes a day minimum on the phone. That's my minimum objective. I've been doing this business for 18 years, and you probably can imagine I get a lot of inbound. But I spend 90 minutes a day. Even at this point, I focus on it. And it's funny, when I don't get that, I get upset with myself. Now, this is what's interesting. That 90 minutes could wind up being a dozen calls, could wind up being 30 calls, could wind up being 2 calls. I'm not as much concerned about the number of calls. I'm concerned about the number of conversations. See, that's the number one metric I want you to focus in on. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a piece of paper when you think about telephone prospecting and put down at the top number of calls, number of conversations, and just set that as your grid, okay? And just keep that going every day. Every day you're prospecting, making calls. And now here's what I found. I will find that there are some industries and some businesses where it may be number of conversations might be only 10% of total phone calls. Some it's only 5%, some it's 20%. Again, depending on the industry, depending on a lot of other norms. Don't get hung up on what you hear in industry, what the telephone industry says this or business says that. Don't get hung up on that. It's your numbers. And then the other number I want you to put is, what is the percent? What is the number of follow-up appointments made? In other words, what you're going to have is you're going to have a high number, then a lesser number, and then a smaller number. But it's that third number. What are how many did I get to have follow-up appointments? That's what I want to be. Now, that's the only metric I want you to be concerned with. And don't go thinking for a moment, well, this isn't working out. No, look at your metric. And your whole objective is, over time, to slowly move that number. Now, let's get into some of the pieces. Let's get into some of the things. How do we actually make the phone call? Now, here's something that I can't stress enough, okay? The phone call is between 2 human beings. Shock! Unbelievable. It's 2 human beings. What does that mean? I want you to be relaxed. I want you to be natural, and I want you to be you. Now, you've already have kind of gotten the sense just from watching me that, yeah, I come across very relaxed, and it's very natural, and it's very much me. That's what I want you to be. Now, Here's a couple pieces though. This does not mean that you let your dark side out. Believe me, no. But what it means is that you have absolute respect for the person you're speaking to. You do it in a respectful manner. But because here's what I found. The first 4 words out of your mouth are going to determine whether or not that person is with you. Right? Think about that for a moment. And again, this is where a lot of scripts get people into trouble. I am not about scripts. Do not use a script when you're on the telephone. No, because you know what? You're not relaxed, you're not natural, and you're not you. Now, I go to a play and I do not see the actors on stage holding their script. No. Now, if I had been at rehearsal before the play opened, I would have seen them with scripts. You see, when I'm in rehearsal, I'm going to use scripts. But when it's showtime, I don't use scripts. Now, think about this for a moment. When you're watching a good play, does it sound like the actors are reading from a script? No. They're performing from a script. They're performing. I want you to be incredibly natural, incredibly comfortable. Now, let's get into this piece here in terms of really saying what is it that we got to, because really what it comes down to, it's about them. It's not about you. I don't want you starting off by sitting there telling them 20 seconds about who you are. No, that really doesn't cut it. It does not cut it. Now, here's why. Nobody cares about you. Your mother already knows who you are, okay? When you call your mother, she doesn't say, so who are you? No. And you know what? I say it, but everyone else doesn't care about you either. So really what you have to do is you have to make it about them. What does that mean? You got to be focused in on asking 2 to 3 questions. I am a firm believer, and this is where some people take argument with me and they want to do this, this cute, well, how's the weather? Screw it. When somebody calls you up and they say, how's the weather? What do you automatically say? Think to yourself, this is a salesperson. Or how are you doing today? What is that? Ask yourself this question. Next time somebody asks you that on the phone, how are you doing today? Do you think they really care? They don't care about you. They don't. No, they don't. What I'm all about is I want to cut to the chase. So I want to have 2 to 3 questions. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, hello, I'm Mark Hunter. Is this John? Great. Boom. I'm right into my question. I do like asking if this is John, if I know who that person is. Okay. But then what I do is I jump right into the question. Now, here's the whole thing. It is the one time in a phone call that I don't put a pause in there. I go, hey, this is Mark Hunter. Is this John? How do you feel about this? How do you automatically jump right into the question? You jump right into the question. Now, here's why. What I don't want is I don't want them sitting there saying, well, who are you and what are you calling about? When they say that, your call has automatically been delegated to the garbage can. So I'm going to go, hey, this is Mark Hunter. Is this John? And I'm going to say, hey, when was the last time you did this? When was the last time? And I want them to answer. Now, they will probably say, so who did you say? Now, Jonas, I didn't even say who I was with. I like engaging the customer right off the bat because my objective is to find out whether or not they're with me or not with me. Now, some people are going to say, wow, that's incredibly offensive. No, it's not. No, it's not offensive because what am I doing? I'm really trying to find out something of importance about you because we'll say, let's just keep this very, very simple, okay? I'm selling pesticide services, okay? And we'll say it's pesticide services to businesses, okay? So I'm calling a number and I go, hey, is this John? Hey, when was the last time your pesticide company was out to take a look at your building? I'm going to flat out ask him that. And he might say, I don't know. What does that do? Then I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say, who do you use? Do you use somebody? I'm going to immediately jump into questions, but I want to have these 2 or 3 questions set up right away that I go, boom, boom, boom. Now, here's the whole thing. Don't be regimented in the questions you're going to ask. Okay. I go from 1, 2, 3. I'm going to let the customer's response tell me what number 2 is. See, again, I got the script, but I'm following by what the flow is. Because again, I'm being natural. I'm trying to be me. I'm trying to be comfortable. And I'm trying to make the customer comfortable. Now, you got to notice something. I did not say, hi, I'm Mark Hunter with ABC pesticide control. No, I jumped right in. Now, they're going to ask me, that's fine. Great. And I'm going to sit there and say, yeah, I'm Mark Hunter with, ABC pesticide control. And then I'm going to sit there and say, I just want to make sure that you've got the protection you need. And they well, yeah, we've got all the protection. I say, great. So when was the last time your pesticide company was out? Do you know what type of services they provide for you? You see, what I'm doing is I just want to get them thinking. I want to get them talking. Now, it may be, and pesticide service is really kind of simplistic enough that I might be able to sell a contract or an on-site. Boom, right then. I may not have to do a follow-up phone call. You see, this is the other piece regarding telephone. I want to know, what is my next step? Is my next step a follow-up phone call or my next step in person? Again, if I'm in a more complex sale, it's always going to be towards the person. But I know a lot of businesses where they go, hey, it's just going to be the follow-up. Now, here's what I found. And let's talk about follow-up, the face-to-face, okay? So we'll say I'm a small business and I'm calling, and we'll say it's pesticide. I'm working in a metropolitan area. Think about this for a moment. Do you want to be running around town just for the sake of running around town? No. You want to be running around town because you have viable leads you're following up on. This comes back to this whole piece that I argued about up front in terms of one key insight. So what I'm going to ask them, I'm going to say, so what are the specific reasons why you have pesticide service? Clearly, you've had some issues in the past. Oh, yeah, we've had this. Oh, yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Now, what does this do? This allows you to either say, great, when I come out tomorrow, or when somebody comes out tomorrow, they can have some information regarding that. Or it gives you the reason to say that, hey, I'm going to follow up with you on this information tomorrow at 10 o'clock when I call you back. Okay. You see, what have I done? I've generated the next step. Here's your homework assignment here. Now, and I got more information I want to share with you, but one of your homework assignments is I want you to be thinking about what are the questions that you can be asking, and then I want you to practice. Hey, this is Mark Hunter. Is this John? Great. And boom, go right into your question. Don't pause. Don't pause. And I do not get hung up, because here's the whole thing. If I had sat there and said, hi, I'm Mark Hunter with ABC Pesticide Control, what is the immediate word that's going to come out of their mouth? Oh, we already have somebody. We don't need you. You see, this is why I'm in many situations not a big fan of saying who I work for, because it automatically, boom, shuts me out. Now, that is a completely different strategy. But I'll tell you what, it's powerful and it works. I have used this with big companies selling long sales cycle and short company. I was working with a company, and if I said the name, you would know who it is. It is a Fortune 500 company, major company in the computer hardware business. And their inside salespeople was having a problem because they would introduce themselves and say who they were with. And they said, oh, well, we've already got a contract with so-and-so. And it was made, as soon as we changed that, and had them say, hey, John, and they jumped right into a question. It was amazing the number of follow-up conversations they were able to have and the amount of business they were able to complete just by making that one simple change. I've done the same thing with very, very smaller businesses in B2B and even in B2C. It works. It works well. Now, here's the whole thing. Let's realize that no is never permanent. It's only a moment of time. Now, why do I bring up no right here? Because I may ask somebody a question and they say, no, I don't have time for it. Fine. Or no, we're already covered. We're already okay. That's okay. I'm cool with that. Because remember, I didn't call them when they were expecting me to call. I call and I interrupted their day. So hearing a no is totally fine. Totally fine. A no is only a moment in time. Hearing no does not mean they come off my list. Mm-mm. Hearing no just means they go to the back of my list, and I'm going to come back through them again. I'm going to come back through them again. Don't sit there. If you have a prospecting list and you allowed every no, and because the no many times is simply because they're too busy. They don't have time to talk. It's not they're saying no to your service, not to what you're selling, you see. Separate the two. Separate the two. Don't allow, what I find is I find too many people wind up throwing away very good leads because they heard a no. But it was a no because it's a moment in time. It's not permanent. Now, let's do a little deeper dive here. I can't emphasize enough why you need to be taking notes. And I saw this, I saw this again the other day. I was dealing with some salespeople and they were on the phone and they were very relaxed, very comfortable, but they weren't taking notes. And what I found amazing was, because I was listening in on some of the phone calls, they weren't able to follow up. They weren't able to follow through. Now, follow up and follow through is two different things. And I want to break this apart because this is going to be the difference. This is the reason why some people are successful selling and some people are not. Now, if you were on the call on this session just before we began, I was talking about a little discussion I've been having on LinkedIn regarding, are great salespeople because of what they sell, or are they great because of why they sell? Let me tell you something. It's why they sell. Why they sell, because they have a deep-seated commitment to help them learn. Help the customer learn. So what does that mean? I got to be able to follow up and I got to be able to follow through. Now, here's a couple pieces. When I make my follow-up phone call, I always start off by saying, hey, yesterday you shared with me this. Last week you shared with me. Your initial line on your follow-up phone call always must be almost word for word, as tight as you can get it, what the customer shared with you before. Now, here's why. If I have a discussion with you today and you share with me some information and I'm going to call you back and we agree tomorrow at 2:00, and I know 2:00 rolls around, they don't answer. I get that. When you do finally get them on the phone, immediately jump into, hey, last time we talked, you shared with me. Now, what is this doing? This is immediately saying, wow, that person remembered. And what I'm doing is I'm showing them respect. And what I guarantee will happen is you will increase the success rate of your second and third phone call to these people, or however many ever you have to go, dramatically by following up and following through. And I can't emphasize that enough. Now, question came in. Mark, can you give a quick recap on the 2 to 3 questions? I sure can. Your whole key is this. Your first question is really designed just to be big and to get them talking. Okay? Don't be specific. Hi, can I have your social security number? No, that's too specific. No, just be big and broad. What I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask a question. For instance, when I use the pesticide, okay, termites, bugs, whatever, I'm going to say, hey, who do you currently use? Or I'm going to say, when was the last time your service provider came out to your building? You see, what is that? That's kind of an easy question. It's not a hard question. Then I'm going to drill down a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. I may be selling software, okay? I'm selling software. You say, great, hey, when was the last time you guys upgraded this program? You see what I'm doing? Now, I many times will ask a yes or a no question on the first one. Now, some people are going to argue, Mark, that's not right. No, but here's why. I'm just trying to get their lips moving. I'm just trying to get them engaged. And however they respond, yes or no, I'm going to ask them a follow-up question immediately. They say, no, we don't have any come out. Really? So you around your building, you haven't had any kind of problems like what everybody else experiences? Or Tell me about when you did have somebody. You see, again, now I got to think through these. And again, this is why I get a little bit sketchy on trying to go into specifics here. But my whole idea is I don't want to say put out a how's the weather question initially, but it's kind of broad and easy regarding the industry, the piece of what I'm selling. And then I drill down from there. My whole objective is only to ask 2 or 3 questions. I'm not really trying to go deeper beyond that. Okay. Now, what did I do with my thinking? Now, just share with this. Success is not a constant. It's a process to be worked every day. Now, why do I share this? Here's the whole deal. I run into people who sit there and say, man, I've had 0 success last week on the telephone. Well, guess what? Today starts all over again. Or I see somebody who says, wow, we had incredible success yesterday. Well, guess what? Today starts all over again. What's beautiful about telephone prospecting is every day starts all over. Now, I like that because here's the whole thing. It also allows me to keep changing up the questions I'm asking. It allows me to keep changing up the questions I'm asking. And great, some more questions are coming in, so I'm going to jump in there. And hey, somebody wrote New York City. I love it. Yeah, you're right. Because hey, I used to live in Jersey, and I used to live in Connecticut. Yeah, I know. I used to sell in the boroughs. Yeah, I could tell you some stories. But I've had a chance to sell all over the country and all over the world. And let me tell you something, you can sell in New York City. You can sell anywhere. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that one to the bank in a New York minute. Anyway, here's the whole deal. Every time I get on the phone call, and this is the way I got to treat every phone call, okay? Don't for a moment think that this phone call does not have a chance to be successful. One of the pieces that salespeople rub me the wrong way. They say, well, my boss said if I make 100 phone calls, I should get 3 appointments. I don't give a rip what your boss says because your boss is not you. And oh, by the way, the 100 people are not the 100 people he or she called. As far as I'm concerned, you could call 100 people and get 100 appointments, or you could call 100 people and get no appointments. That's just the way it is. But here's the whole thing. Think about this for a moment. Why would you want to be doing this unless you felt you're going to be successful? Because you are going to be successful. And it's because we're successful because we're engaging and just getting that one piece of information to follow up and follow through on. Now, let's kind of jump in and we got a few minutes here. I want to cut this off at about 50 minutes. I don't want to let this run too long, but hey, throw some questions up there. I got to put my glasses on. Is that okay? Here we go. This is great advice for when you reach the DM, but are you expecting these techniques to work on gatekeepers too? Oh, hey, okay. Now, I did a separate session on gatekeepers, but I'll jump into this. Here's what I found. Use the same questions on gatekeepers. Now, here's why. When I use these same questions on gatekeepers will say, oh, wow, I guess I better connect you with so-and-so, you see, because what's very interesting is when I sit there and say, well, who may I ask is in charge of this? Well, what does that do? And that's just kind of like saying, oh, the gatekeeper's a village idiot. They're just tending the phone. Well, that might be what they are. But what I want to do is I want to show them respect. And what I found is when I show the gatekeeper respect, there's a much higher probability that they're going to take me to the person and they're going to connect me to the person. And one other final piece on the gatekeeper. They say, oh, well, let me connect you. I say, hey, just a moment. Would you mind giving me the person's extension just in case we get disconnected? Now, I love asking that question. I love saying that to gatekeepers. Now, here's why. Because it's like I'm doing them a favor. But now what have I got? I've got their extension. So now I can reach out to them directly and not have to go through the gatekeeper. So anyway, hope that answers. What do you do after you get those answers from people? How do you lead into the follow-up? Yes, here's the whole thing. Okay, so I got the answers to those 2 to 3 questions. And then I'm going to sit there and say, great. Let's talk tomorrow at 2:00. Sound good? Oh, it's not good. How about 3:00? How about 3:30? Okay, I'm going to give them specific time. And then tomorrow when I call them back, I'm going to immediately start off, like I said, I'm going to sit there and say, hey, yesterday you said boom, 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 boom. And I'm going to repeat back exactly what they said. And that's going to take me into a little bit of an explanation. Because now what I've done, I've put them on a pedestal. I've made them feel good because, hey, they're used to having salespeople not giving them any respect. So I'm going to do that. Now, if they say they can't follow, well, send me an email. I'm sorry. I do not like that, because here's the whole thing. Sending you an email, what are they saying? They're blowing you off. They're blowing you off. I always go for the phone call. Phone call, phone call, phone call, phone call. Email is last resort. And oh, by the way, if I send you the email, I'm still going to call you, because the email is simply going to blow you up. Okay, some more. It goes over their head, and they panic. Yeah, you're right. That they do panic because it goes over their head, and that's why they connect you. So that's great. Hey, I love this dialogue. Great dialogue. I never asked this, but is this a good first question? Is this a good time? No, I'm not a fan of that. I am not a fan of that. Now, here's why. Because it makes it come across like you're a salesperson. The only time I will do that, hey, questions are continuing to roll in, so we'll keep this rolling, okay? The only time I will say, is this a good time to talk, is when I'm calling a senior level person at the top of the hour. And I'm using that 58-2 technique. Ooh, buy the book. Buy the book, High Profit Prospecting. I don't have a copy of the book. Hey. That's the book. Yeah. But anyway, hey, 58-2, because what I'm doing is I'm calling them right at the top of the hour, and they're really busy. And as a result of them being busy, I'm probably interrupting them. So that's the only time I will. Now, see, we got some more questions. Do you leave voicemails? Yes, I always will leave a voicemail, 11 to 14 seconds. Again, go out to my YouTube channel, Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. I've got a whole downloadable video there on voicemail, because it's really kind of too hard, but it's 11 to 14 seconds. Or I've got a whole bunch of stuff here in the book, High Profit Prospect, and pick it up. The folks at InfoFree, the people who really sponsor this, do a great job with this, but they can help you out with that. Totally answers my question. By the way, thanks. Well, thanks, Kay. How do you get out of sending the email then? The way you get out of sending the email is well, there's really so much information to send that whatever I send you, I know it's going to confuse you. That's really exactly how I say that. So let's just take a couple minutes on the phone to answer a couple questions. Then I'll know better. See, now what I've done is I'm saying, okay, you talk with me a little bit, and then I'll send you an email. But I want to make sure I talk with you first. It's so important for me to talk with you. So important. So if they do demand that I send them an email, okay, and I'm going to, and nothing I can do can get around that. But then I'm still going to call them. I'm going to call them back. Okay, we got some more questions. Do you stand when you're calling? Yes, I do. I do. That's why I always use a headset. It's kind of funny. I'm sitting down for this, but I think you can tell my energy even sitting down. I love standing up to make phone calls, and I do because there's more energy. Use a good headset. Don't get a lousy headset. Make sure you have a good headset. Move around for sure. Oh yeah. Oh, believe me. Believe me, I have a wired headset to my phone, but it's a wireless phone. And I'm all over my office. Yeah, great questions. I know Mark is the expert, but my alternative work. I'll give you a shout out, Kay. That's okay. Kay, I love it. Whoever Kay is, I know Mark is the expert, but my alternative that works really well is I know you're pretty busy, so I'll be brief and continue as normal. It says, yeah. That's a strategy. Hey, I'm going to give you props for that. Yeah. But here's the whole thing, though. Don't fall into that strategy. Don't fall into that as a permanent. That may be kind of a drop back if you're having some problems, but don't use that, because then what happens is you suddenly, over time, you become lazy. Well, are you sure it's okay to talk? And what happens is you lose your punch. You lose your punch on the phone. But okay, yeah, I'll give you double props. Does the book direct one where to find online accompanying videos? Hey. The online accompanying videos, best way to get them, go to YouTube and Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. I got all my videos right there. But I'll tell you what, send me an email. Anybody who wants to say, hey, you know what? I'll do this as a very special deal. Shh, don't spread it around. Anybody, send me an email in the next couple of hours. Put on there, webinar, and I'm going to send you a link to a 23 video series around this book. I've shot 23 videos. We're going to be selling them, but shh, okay? Because somebody asked. You asked for the order, so I'll give it to you, okay? and I'll send you the link. But hey, send me an email, mark@thesaleshunter.com. Put in their webinar, and I'll send you back a link to download to view 23 video series. Hey, this is absolutely terrific. Thanks for the webinar. Can you clarify the idea? Yeah, 58 too. What this means is 58 minutes after the hour to 2 minutes into the hour. What happens? Busy people always have meetings at the top of the hour. They always start. So the one time they might be available is right at the top of the hour. So I catch them at 58 minutes after the hour to 2 minutes into the hour. And it's amazing how I can catch many times people who are very, very busy. Wow, these questions are just rolling in. I love it. Hey, you guys are great. Let me make sure I'm not, thanks for the webinar. Can you clarify 58.2? I sell radio advertising. What would your opening line be? Hey, your opening line would be is how is your traffic doing? What's your average customer transaction? What's your average customer sale? How are you doing at generating new business? How are you doing with competitors? I'm not going to talk about advertising. I'm going to ask them about their business because that's really what they want. They're not buying advertising. What they want to do is they want to buy customers. They want to buy sales. So my first question is going to be about that. Yeah, and I've had a chance to do a lot of work with a lot of broadcasting companies, and boy, we found that is always the best technique. If XYZ product line were made available to you, would you be interested in talking to me about the opportunity? Are you asking me if that's? I'm not quite sure, Randy. So I'm a little bit confused. But is there a headset you like more than others? No, I really don't. Shoot, what is the headset brand? And I don't have mine here with me. There is one headset brand in particular I like, and I can't. It's not. I apologize. My office is an absolute mess here today. So anyway, Mark, you talked about 8 to 9 calls to get someone to strategy. Or is this for you? Is this if you only get to voicemail? Yeah, and believe me, I've had 20, 25 calls with people. But here's the thing: each call, each voicemail's got to be different. Each one's got to be different. Listen to my webinar on voicemails. I walked through that whole thing. This is absolutely terrific. Thanks, Mark. That's great. What email address? Yeah, hold on. Let me pop this up here. Okay. Mark at thesaleshunter.com. That's the email address. Okay. Yeah. And hey, there are the links. I think I got there's the YouTube channel up there. Yeah. Let's Mark at hey, Kay, you are awesome. I love whoever Kay is, you're awesome. Is it? No, it's just Mark at the Sales Hunter. I can't be that complex. It was a question to the prospect. Randy, thank you. Hold on. Let me get back to that question. It was no, I'm not crazy about that. People don't buy products. They invest. What's the outcome? I always focus everything I do around the outcome. What's the outcome the customer is looking for? I wouldn't say the product is, if there was a solution to that problem, would you be interested? If you could figure out a way to take care of that, would you be interested? That's the approach. That's the approach I would use. I have a VTech headset here in BC, Canada. It's great. Hey, thank you, Lynn, for sharing. I love it. Hey, anyway. Oh, wow. Phil, if you call a prospect and they tell you they are happy with their service provider, what to keep the conversation going? Yeah. Ask them, what do they like about it? Tell me that. Terrific. I'm very happy for you. What is it that you like about it? Great. Get them talking about it, because here's what's very interesting. And then what I'll say is, great. So then I'll begin to probe in a little bit deeper. I'll say, great. So what? And meantime, you know what? They are great, but yeah, you're right. They missed this piece, or they're closed, 3 weeks out of the year or whatever. It's amazing. If somebody has something good that they're happy with, that's okay. Find out information, congratulate them, move on. Let's see. How do you go about asking for access to someone superior, ex-CFO, when you're speaking to a controller? Sure. Ask them a complex enough of a question that says, you know what? I bet your CFO would probably have an opinion on that. Would it be beneficial for us to get some time with them? Now, you notice how I said that? I said that kind of a little bit of a halting manner, kind of just putting the question out there. It's not like, well, take me to your leader. No, I'm ask them a question that they're going to see or say, wow, that was great what you just shared. I think I'm sure your CFO would be really interested in hearing that, especially in light of XXX. Now what I've done is I've complimented the person I'm talking to. And I'm saying, hey, let's go to your CFO and let's do that. So yeah, so I love asking them complicated questions to take them further up the ladder. Okay, and we do have a hard stop here in 4 more minutes. So, but this is great. Will this be available? Yes, in 8 hours from now, you will receive a replay. Let's see. When the prospect immediately says not interested or we are happy with what we're doing, what do you say? I say, well, great. Tell me why are you happy? Get them to build on it. Get them to talk more about their happiness. And in so doing, they may share with you. And they may not. Fine. You move on. But you'll learn a critical piece of information. Well, I apologize. I keep putting on my glasses, but that's good. Jim, sorry about the label. How do you go about asking for access for someone superior when, yeah. Well, you just say, hey, I'm sure there's somebody else in your organization or in your team that would probably have some input or really want to share some thoughts or ideas. You see, now I haven't implied that I'm talking to you, the stupid idiot, take me to your leader. I'm saying, who else on your team? I'm kind of elevating them. So it's amazing. Make them feel comfortable. And it's amazing what they will do for you. What do you like about your current Kay, you're jumping in. Kay is Mark's assistant. I love it, Kay. Thank you. By the way, art subject. Yes, I love art subject. He and I are good friends. In fact, we used to live in Omaha together. He has moved now to Phoenix. I'm still here in Omaha, but we talk a lot, as you can imagine, on the telephone. Yeah. Anyway, nope, Montreal-based web developed salesperson. Oh, okay. Well, great. Hey, Kay, I'm glad you're in Montreal. It's good. Just love his style. Yeah. Moonlight. We all, asking if Kay moonlights. Kay, maybe you should look at moonlighting. VTech headset. What type? I need a mute button. Oh, by all means, make sure you have a mute button. And here's why you got to make sure you have a mute button, because there are times you got to clear your throat, you got to cough, but you got to keep listening. So you got to make sure that you can mute that. Hey guys, this is absolutely terrific. You guys have been a terrific audience. I love it. Here's the whole deal. Send me an email, put webinar. I'll send you the link to all of those videos that are right here in this book. Here's my email again, and connect with me, social media. But hey, this whole webinar has been brought to you by the folks at InfoFree. And I can't emphasize this enough because they're absolutely terrific to work with. And give them a buzz. Tell them Mark Hunter said. And they'll get you set up on a trial. They'll get you set up. But really, the only way we can do these is because of sponsors like that. So hey, I'm Mark Hunter. I am the Sales Hunter. This has been absolutely terrific. This is some of the content we've been talking about this book. We got a whole lot more of these webinars that we're going to be coming out with. So man, make sure you stay in the loop. Keep checking them out. Hey, Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Great selling.